Today, I'm super excited to be interviewing Pauline from Sugar Made Me Lean. Hi, Pauline, how are you doing?
Hi, Julia. I'm doing all good. A smoothie in the belly and ready to talk.
Ready for a carved up conversation?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, first of all, I'm really curious, how did you come up with the name Sugar Made Me Lean? And what's the thought behind it?
Well, first, when I created my English channel, I called it Sweet Fruitness, and then Sugar Made Me Lean. I wanted to use a name that was triggering, but it didn't seem that it worked so well. So I revert back to Sweet Fruitness recently.
Ah, you did. I actually didn't notice. But yeah. And what would you say, like, because obviously sugar made you lean, so what would you say other than the sugar was the things that helped you, because you have a pretty epic weight loss transformation, so what were the things that helped you?
Okay. So after I became vegan, it took me 2 years. Um, I was just doing what Freely was doing, and it was obviously fruit based for the people who know her. And yeah, fruit made me lean, but I was also adding some sugar. I can't remember the kind of sugar I was adding back then. I just added anything. At first, I was avoiding white sugar, but then I came back to my senses, and it doesn't matter. So, and I was still eating some rice and some lentils sometimes, but I was fruit based since the beginning of my vegan days. Yeah.
Mm.
So when I say sugar made me lean, it's all the sugars, the fruit, the starches, and the actual refined sugar.
Amazing.
Mm.
And if I understand correctly, because I have been going back to some of your older videos recently, you've also been into a fruitarian lifestyle at one point where you were primarily eating raw vegan, right?
Yes, at the beginning. For me, it was easier to go frugivore than going normal vegan because
Mm.
the vegan food in France at that time, there was almost no choice. And the influencers I was following were doing fruit based. So let's do it. It's fun, it's tasty, and that's why.
Mm. And what made you go from like raw vegan and lots of, I guess, fresh fruit to what you're doing now, which is more like, I guess, more easily implementable into the lifestyle, I suppose. But yeah, what made you make that switch to high carb, low fat vegan?
Well, I saw Freely reincorporating cooked potatoes and rice, and I was feeling so inspired anyway, so that I tried the same recipes, and they were so tasty. You know, these baked potatoes, it's really
Mm.
delicious, especially when you come from a fruit diet, and the starches are super stimulating. So anyway, I was doing like fully raw, fully frugivore for 4 months, and the rest of the time, for about 4 years, I was doing 95% raw. So a lot of fruit.
Hmm. And what changes did you notice once you started incorporating like more like starches and potatoes again, like
Yeah,
physically and mentally,
yeah.
emotionally?
So it was in 2015, and
Oh.
I was living without a fridge. It was doable. So I like these kind of challenges. And when I incorporated some cooked starches for dinner, I had more energy for cycling because I started cycling on that year. And I could cycle for the whole day. And meanwhile, doing that on fruit is it's challenging. Like, where do you even buy the fruit on a 200-kilometer ride or 100-kilometer ride? It's not
Hmm.
always easy to find ripe fruit everywhere. But if you take bread and jam, I know you can find that everywhere where I live.
So would you say like the convenience of being more relaxed with including things like jam and like cooked starches and sugars, would you say that convenience and the benefit of being able to exercise more therefore outweighs the, I guess, maybe a little bit of a downside? And maybe, do you feel any difference when you eat this way versus maybe fully raw? Do you feel any difference in terms of physical sensations or not really?
Yeah, well, there are many reasons why I eat some starches now. But when I eat starches, I feel like more full, more satiated for a longer time. Obviously, everybody can relate. Whereas if I do fruit all day, I can do it. I still do it sometimes, but I get so hungry. I eat every 3 hours, and you need to be having enough fruit at home. So yeah, you need some great logistics for fruit purchase, and also the taste of starches is so good. And when you pick the right starches and do it low fats, there's no problem, right? Unless you add too much salt or too many hidden fats or excess protein, it can be easy to gain some kilos, eating the starches. But if you eat the right ones, like Victoria explained, you can stay lean. So it tastes good, starches, it's cheaper in general, it's convenient, and it's really tempting, but it's not bad temptation. It's really good temptation. So
Yeah,
how do I
I agree.
feel? Like when I eat only bananas, I feel super stable and super happy. But when I eat starches, I feel great too, just a bit more numbed. So I think that's why the starches are better at night, at dinner, when you can finally relax, and that's it.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And the thing with the numbed, I actually also 100% agree and also experience. So I feel like when I eat just 100% like fruit, then I feel so freed up and also very sensitive. And I actually have found throughout time that there isn't anything wrong with like numbing yourself a little bit sometimes, and especially in the evening time. That's why I personally love the raw to four lifestyle so much, because it's just such a nice way of combining the benefits of the fruit and then the benefits of the cooked food. But yeah, and you seem to kind of have a lot of like food freedom. So when I watch your what I eat in a day videos, it seems so nice because you're so loose about food, and you really have found that balance of what feels best with you and what is very easily implementable into your lifestyle. So what kind of tips would you give to someone who's maybe still struggling to find that balance with the high carb, low fat vegan lifestyle?
Yeah. One thing, I think it's super important to find the high carb, low fat foods that you really enjoy. And for that, you need to try a lot of things initially. I think that's also one of the tips of Neil Barnard. So one cannot succeed in a diet if one doesn't enjoy his food. So if
So
someone doesn't
true.
enjoy my meals, it's fine. Just try something else that's high carb, low fat, and after a while, you will love your meal so much that you will just do that over and over and be happy.
And what would be some kind of troubleshooting things that you would go through with people who maybe find themselves struggling with the high carb, low fat lifestyle and over going back to junk foods and salty, greasy foods like spring rolls and all that kind of like things we actually don't want to have in this diet in order to get the results?
Yeah, like any kind of junk food or fried foods. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not good unless it's super
So
occasional. But if it's very occasional, like a few times in a year, like it doesn't matter, right? But if it's too often, like once a week or twice a week or more, there's a problem. Huh? If you're tempted by these greasy foods, it means that you're not eating enough. And oftentimes people underestimate how much they need to eat. Like sometimes I see these accounts of ex-vegans, and they ate like 1,500 calories per day or peaking at 2,000 calories per day. It's not enough, right? Especially if you exercise. If you're someone young and tall, so people, I know there's different profiles of people, but for people that don't eat enough, they need to find high carb, low fat foods that are more dense, like maybe avoid the watermelon and eat more bananas, or avoid quinoa and eat pasta or rice.
So, what kind of tips would you give to someone who maybe, or what would you tell them? How could they get in more like calories, or how could they troubleshoot that problem of constantly going back to greasy foods?
Yeah. Well, initially, I think it's super useful to count calories. Well, it's not an exact science, but it's still worth counting and make sure you eat at least what you need. And what we need is our BMR plus 30% plus the exercise. But it's not always easy to calculate. So just go a bit overboard, and that's the baseline. And then try if you're satisfied like that. And if it's too much, maybe make more meals to make it easier. Or if you're still hungry after eating this amount of potato or banana or rice, etc., just eat more of the same stuff, as much as you want.
Cool. So, what would your definition of unlimited carbs be? Because there are also some people in the movement that say you just eat as much as you want and you have to stuff your face and you need to eat a lot. So, what's your definition of unlimited carbs, calories?
Well, for people that don't know what we're talking about, when we say unlimited carbs, it doesn't mean unlimited donuts. It doesn't mean unlimited fatty desserts. No, it means unlimited high carb, low fat foods, and till you're satiated. And if you have to stuff your face, like if you're underweight, okay, you have to stuff your face. But if you're normal weight, you just eat as much as you want. And if you're overweight, you also need to eat as much as your appetite requires, right? So when you say unlimited, let's say I smash the rice or bananas, I still wouldn't get fat, right? Because it's impossible to eat too many of them because they're so bulky with the fiber, the water. And
What's the maximum amount of rice, like dry rice, you've ever eaten in one sitting?
Good question. But usually I eat 200 grams of white rice, more or less. And I think my record was 700 grams of rice noodles. That's just for a YouTube video, but usually I would not eat that much for myself. Usually I would eat 300 grams of rice noodles, maybe 500 grams if I exercise and I'm really hungry. So it
Like
depends
dry
on,
weight, right?
yes, dry weight, yes.
And then if you eat rice, like anywhere between 200 and 300 grams?
Yeah,
Or...
it depends on how much I exercise, yes. And I don't know if you saw one of my old videos when I was adding 500 grams of sugar on my food every day for a month, and I filmed everything. So that's 1 pound of sugar added to a high carb low fat diet with a daily calorie surplus, and it did not gain any weight at all.
Wow, that is so
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, many people in our society are very afraid of the sugar, when in reality, like, yes, maybe it would be a little bit more optimal to get the sugar straight from the fruit, right? But what's really the problem is the fat in the foods. So when you combine them with the sugar, that's what makes people fat. So
Yeah, I can tell you about sugar all day. Sugar is not a problem, but people have a confusion in their minds. They think that sugar is fatty dessert, like sugar is chocolate, but it's not. It's not that, because chocolate is a lot of fat and some caffeine, and cakes are usually fatty. And when you say I eat sugar, it means I eat cakes. So they have this bad vision of sugar. They think sugar is the the devil. But what is sugar? It's sucrose, which is glucose and fructose. It's just extra carbs. So it's nothing bad. And sugar is not inflammatory. It has a Prol index of 0. It's neutral. It doesn't cause inflammation. I can link these studies for you if you want, but it's really interesting. And also, sugar is the ultimate antioxidant, and people can find sources for that too. It's really interesting. So more carbs mean just more energy.
many people in our society say that sugar, in the process of refining the sugar, like let's say, for example, cane sugar, there is like chemicals that are also coming with the sugar. Is that something you have found for yourself, or is that something you don't believe in?
Well, cane sugar is golden, and if you want to make it white, okay, you can use some whitening method. But if you take the sugar beetroot and make sugar out of it, it's already white, because the sugar beetroot is white. So you make juice and you dry it, and it's white. So no big deal.
So no chemicals involved in the process.
And okay, there can be some chemicals in some cases, but it's vegan, one, and two, the chemicals are not there anymore in the final product. So I'm not too worried.
Nice. Yeah, you seem very relaxed, very calm about it. So that's really, really nice. And I think one of the great benefits is also that you have more energy to actually exercise and move your body. So what does your current like workout or exercising routine look like? How often do you do it? Which time of the day? What do you like to do before? Do you like to exercise on an empty stomach or just right away after getting up?
Mm.
So,
Well, my routine varies depending on the season. So in winter, I train less because I don't like it when it's too cold and rainy and snowy. And in summer, I train more because it's so sunny. I like to get out there and do many kilometers. It's very fun for me. So before an intense workout, let's say a TT uphill, I will have water sugar, like maybe 100 grams of sugar, or some syrup, cordial water. It works really well. Because if I eat something that requires digestion, like fruit or even fruit juice, I feel a bit nauseous. So in the case I do something intense, I just have sugar water before. And after that, a smoothie or a juice or whatever after the workout. And let's say I do something that's not intense, like endurance pace or lower, I just eat my food normally and it's not an issue.
mm.
And if I want
And
to run,
yeah.
I need something that's digests really well, like just sugar or syrup. And fruit is just too much before a workout.
Interesting.
Mm.
So do you work out like right after getting up usually, or do you have a little break after waking up?
When I wake up, I need to drink because I feel dehydrated when I wake up. That's normal. That's from breathing all night and not drinking. Because we lose water when we breathe. So
Mm.
in the morning, I drink at least that jar or twice that. So in winter, that volume, and in summer, double that
About
volume.
half a liter to a
Yeah,
liter.
yeah, exactly.
And then you go out and do
Mm,
your movement after you've
yeah,
rehydrated and filled up your
yeah,
glycogen stores.
yeah. I prefer to train first thing in the morning so that it's out of the way and then I can focus on work and stuff like that. Because exercising after eating, it's not the same. I prefer to sweat first thing in the morning.
Mm,
Just
interesting.
it's my habit.
And what are your thoughts on training on an empty stomach? Is that something you think is counterintuitive or counterproductive, especially if you're maybe looking to shed some pounds and you're wanting to burn some fats? What are your thoughts? Like, what would be the ideal thing in terms of training on an empty stomach or still having something before?
I know a lot of people do it, and it doesn't work for everyone. But I think it depends. Let's say on the day before you ate a lot, like a fuck lot of noodles and pasta or I don't know what, and then in the morning you still feel very satiated and you don't feel like eating, even when you're hydrated. Like okay, maybe in that case it's fine. But the glycogen level goes down for the whole night. We also spend calories at night, so I think a lot of people are a bit low on glycogen and they should add something before training, something that digests instantly, like sugar or cordial water. It's better. Because let's say you train and you don't have enough glycogen levels, then you cannot train efficiently. I think Nutrition by Victoria shared some studies about that. People skipping breakfast and not training properly and having a metabolism that is slowed down and that gain fat easily. So we have to take all of that into consideration. Huh?
Hmm. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And what are your favorite ways? Like I'm guessing you're a lot into cycling but also into running. So which are the pros and cons of each of those and what other ways do you like to include for exercising and movement?
Mm. But I really like cycling, but I sold my road bike last year. I use a city bike now with the baskets for it's really convenient, and I still train with the city bike. It's fine. So I like the cycling because it's kind on the knees. And for people that are overweight, I think it's better to start cycling and not running, because when you're overweight, there's too much weight, too much pressure on the knees, and it can really hurt the knees if you run being overweight.
Hmm.
And And hiking or just walking in town, it's better than sitting on the couch for the whole day. So if one can at least walk for 1 hour every day, that's great.
And what about you? Like, you're obviously not overweight, so what's your favorite way of including movement?
Mm, so each day I pick something or a rest day. So I like to do cycling or hiking or running on flat ground or in the mountain. It depends on the day. It depends on the energy I have, and if I feel like I need some rest, I will take some rest. It's very
Hmm.
important to rest. Otherwise, one will be. It's hard to get motivation when you don't sleep enough. And I like
Mm.
to sleep to go to bed early. So I go to bed at 8. I don't sleep immediately. I still do my things. And at night, I switch off the light and I'm gone.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
so amazing. What are your tips for getting to bed early? Like, many people find themselves struggling a lot getting to bed. There's so many things, social media, you could watch a movie. What is your kind of routine? What is your magic trick to be able to go to bed this early?
Well, it's a habit. When you do it all the time, it's not hard anymore. But let's say you want to get into that good habit, you could set the alarm clock early in the morning at 5 or 6, and you actually wake up and you stay active. And then when it's time to go to bed at 9, you will be tired and it will be easier to fall asleep. And it makes it easier to fall asleep when it's dark, really dark and silent, and when you haven't checked the screens for the last 2 hours. But I know this one is really difficult nowadays.
Mm.
And I would also avoid doing herbal teas. I know they are caffeine free, but they diuretics, and one will get up at night to pee because there's so much water getting out of the body
Mm.
drinking these herbal teas.
Interesting. And what kind of night routine do you usually do, or do you like to do in order to help your body to really recover well during the night?
Um, well, I heard a long time ago that the hours slept before midnight count double, and
Mm.
practice agrees. Everybody agrees when they practice that. It's
Yeah,
really interesting. So
I 100% agree as well.
right. So at night, I like to be on my screen, but it's not good. So what I do when I really want to fall asleep fast, I forget the screen. I put it on plane mode. I leave it at home. I walk in my neighborhood a little, to wind down and stop the stimulation. Or I don't know. I can play with my cat or talk to my husband and screen free.
Hmm.
Mm.
Very nice. Yeah, I also found that it's very helpful and so incredibly effective to go to bed like before 12. Also, because between 10 and 12 p.m., a lot of the human growth hormone, which keeps us young and vital and fresh, is being released. So, especially if you're asleep between 10 and 12, that's like a really nice time to be asleep in. So, yeah, it's really nice that you're so consistent with it. And you also mentioned recovery. So, what are your thoughts on recovery days? Do you train every single day? Do you think it is sustainable, or do you have tips on maybe if someone wants to train every day, on how to do that?
Well, sometimes I train every day, and I maybe do a break every 10th day. So that's almost every day. And the best way to recover is to have enough water and sugar during the workouts and also after the workout, and never be depleted, because when you're depleted, uh, the poor body is going on a survival mode, and it's not good for staying young and feeling fine. So
Mm,
don't
interesting.
bonk and don't get dehydrated. No. And
Mm-hmm.
sleep enough. And if you need more sleep, then feel free to take a nap. I know we are adults, but we can still take naps. Nobody will punish us, right?
Do you find it same easiness in terms of falling asleep at night when you've taken a nap during the day?
um, I'm not sure about this one. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, interesting. And when it comes to like recovering, you mentioned you only have like a rest day every 9 days. So do you ever have like muscle aches in your muscles, or not at all, because your body has already gotten so used to training at this? amount?
Well, I don't have these muscle cramps that people talk about unless I stop training for a long time and then start with intensity and then, okay, it's not going to work out very well and I can get some cramps in these cases, but it's been rare. And when I talk to people that want to get into my lifestyle, they have these bad muscle cramps on the day after or even during the workouts. And when they get into the high carb, low fat lifestyle, they say, the pain is gone. The muscle, okay, it's a bit sore because it worked, but it's not as bad as before. They recover much
Mm.
faster because
And you don't
the
have
glycogen
that
is better.
kind of pain at all after training every day for many, many days in a row, or?
Now I can feel that my muscles are tense, but I can stretch them or give them a massage or just let them rest in bed. And I think the best way to recover is just to lie down horizontally,
Mm,
eat and drink, and just give it rest, and then you recover much faster. You know, the
nice.
pro cyclists, they ride very hard and then they lie down for the rest of the day. That's the secret, right? You don't
Interesting.
have to sleep. I noticed that you don't have to sleep when you take a nap or you rest your body after workouts. You can stay active and, I don't know, write something, watch something, talk to people,
Mm,
but at least sit or lie down. And when you really need it, it feels very good.
mm. Yeah, I agree. Just lying down and like reading a book or watching a movie can be really, really nice. And when you train like every day, do you train like low intensity or high intensity?
Most of the time, I do low intensity, and then it helps to recover better and to eliminate the lactic acid by training on a low intensity, or even medium. That's okay. And like once or twice a week, I like to go hard and I know I can ride hard and on the hills or run uphill, do a sprint or several sprints depending on how I feel, or I can hike and do this super steep mountain climbs, and it doesn't
Nice.
matter. Mm.
And do you feel like that kind of intensity training? Because some people say that when you train like anaerobically, then you're starving your cells of oxygen and it also releases cortisol. Do you feel like it can be a hindrance when you want to get lean and optimally healthy? Or have you not found that to be true for yourself? And what are your thoughts scientifically on that?
Well, that's why I don't do intensity all the time because too much stress too often it cannot be good. You don't want to have such high cortisol all the time, especially as a woman.
Yeah,
So I do the high intensity stuff not for too long and only once or twice a week max. Yeah, because more
cool.
than that, it doesn't feel good anymore. And I
Yeah,
can feel when my energy levels are going too low and I don't want to push myself too hard.
yeah.
But anyway, when I do this high intensity training, or even the medium ones, it helps to detox and lose weight faster. Yeah.
Mm. And would you say you can lose weight on a high carb, low fat vegan lifestyle without any exercise?
Um, some of my subscribers have done that, yeah, without exercising. What they just walk in town or ride the bicycle slowly in town, and that's all they do. So it's not really exercising, just the minimum, and they still lost weight.
Mm.
But it's usually slower than people who exercise, right?
Yeah, so if you exercise in a way, you're just speeding up the results a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. I have one last question that I ask everyone who I interview. So, if you could travel back in time to the time where you first discovered, the vegan, fruitarian, high carb lifestyle, and you could meet your younger self, what three advice would you give her?
I say take B12, don't wait because you will need it. What else? Mm, stock more on fruit and starches so that you'll never be hungry or tempted because initially I was still, I didn't know exactly how much to eat and
Mm,
I was sometimes out of food and I was, I don't know, going to eat pasta and some other stuff, but it was never too bad. So I just stock up, make it easy for yourself. Because when I was doing my transition to a vegan diet, I had no idea of all of that.
mm,
I had no idea what to eat, and when I finally understood that the staple should be high carb, low fat foods that are dense enough. And I was not always doing that. When I see my old picture that I made, I noticed that there was way too many beans. Well, I quit that soon after, but I had way too many of them because I was trying every kind of vegan food. And sometimes I saw, what is this salad bowl? There's seaweed and tomato. Where are the calories? That's funny. And a third advice, good question. Ride your bike and explore, make it fun. Because I started exercising only after some time. So I lost weight, maybe at least 8 kilos in about 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And I was not
incredible.
even trying. And only after I started exercising. And
And
this is when I started making muscle.
okay. But you lost more than 8 kilos after you exercised, or?
No, I was done losing the weight.
Okay, even before you went into the intense
Yeah.
exercise. Amazing.
Yeah, I
So
started
cool.
running first with minimalist shoes and it worked for me. It was fun.
Thank you so much for those three advice and also for the interview. It was so much fun and you have lots of great advice and great tips and you're very straight to the point. I love that. And yeah, really enjoying your content. Thank you for everything you're spreading and sharing on your social media. And
Thank you, Julia. I enjoy your content too. I discovered you recently and I really
oh,
enjoy your videos.
thank you. I feel honored that you say that. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching.